Kamusta na kayo?
Hola, hola, everyone.
What's poppin', everyone? My name is Nico Blitz.
And I'm Jackie Ramirez.
And once again, you're listening to another episode of the Mexipino podcast. This time, episode 71, one after 70.
Yes, people know how to count, babe.
I mean, I don't know. You're doing a on-air challenge right now. And before this actually goes out on radio, Jackie has a challenge that she's been doing on radio with Lechero.
Yeah, we've been doing a battle of the sexes type of thing, where we just like battle each other in different types of like just random stuff. And yesterday was a spelling bee competition, and I did absolutely horrible.
Absolutely horrible. So, I mean,
I got 2 of like 5 words right. In my defense, it was like 30 seconds to spell as many words as you can, and I forgot I had 1 pass.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. You want to do a quick spelling bee then?
Okay, I guess.
All right, so Jackie definitely has 30 seconds to do it starting now.
Wait,
okay, she's going to start. Okay, restart the clock. Restart the clock.
Reset, okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Incoherent.
Incoherent.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
I
believe that's correct. Absolutely.
I
am.
ABSOULET. Well, I don't know.
That one's incorrect. How about Mississippi?
MISSISSIPPI.
Okay, there we go. Shout out to Jackie. She got a 3 for 3.
2 for 3.
2 for 3, rather. I'm definitely sure she misspelled absolutely.
Probably.
Yeah. And then I think today they're actually doing like a math thing, right?
Yeah, we're doing like a math challenge today, which already I've lost. So, and then like the whole like purpose of this like on air challenge is that like the first person to 3 like points win. So we have to do like a different thing Monday through Friday. And if I lose, I have to run 2 miles a day for the next week. And then if I win, then Leche has to be handcuffed to the chair that he currently sits in the studio.
and why is being handcuffed to a chair such a challenge?
Because
challenge
Leche
worthy.
has ants in his pants 24/7.
Whoa.
And he literally cannot sit still. And we're all just there like wondering where he is. He wanders the halls like we don't know where he is half the time. Like we do a on-air live break, and then he walks out and then comes back in like midway through the next break and then leaves. I'm like, dude, where are you? Like, be for real.
I'm still stuck on the ants in his pants. I think he might need to get that checked.
Oh my gosh. That's not literal, babe. It's figuratively.
So basically, Leche is just like not in studio. He does a break and then he leaves.
Yeah, he does a break, leaves, comes back, does a break, leaves, comes back, does a break, leave.
So then between like your math competition today, who do you think is gonna win between you and Leche?
I think Leche is gonna win because he was a 4.0 student in high school, or so he claims. So I don't know, and I suck at math. The only math I was good at was like statistics, and I hated geometry. You know those like. You remember in elementary school when they did like those timed multiplication things?
Yes.
Yeah, those sheets of paper. Yeah. I literally only ever got to like the 4th row.
Jesus Christ, out of like 10 or something, right?
Yeah, I was so bad at those. Like that, I think that's where my anxiety stems from. Like my childhood trauma of like going to elementary school and being like, okay guys, we're going to do a timetable test and and you guys have 1 minute to do as many timetables as you can. That's where my anxiety stems from. I think I just got to the root of my problem.
I got you. I think we actually had those on like desktops or like, you know, the old Macintoshes that look like more circular. You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't go to a private school, so my school didn't have money. We did it at the lunch tables.
Jesus Christ.
Inside the cafeteria.
I mean, we had a cafeteria too, but then you guys didn't have like those super old Macintosh ones, like the ones that were round.
Yeah, but we didn't do like the multiplication test on those. We did it on actual paper.
Well, I mean, we did our own test, but this was more like practice to make sure that we got it quickly.
No, we still did it on paper.
Okay, never mind. Anyways, but we did have those. I'm saying we had those in like middle school, and we basically had to learn a couple things. One, we had to learn math on those things. So if it was like 13 times 3, you just clicked the right answer and it was 69. 5 times 5, 25 type of stuff. And then additionally, you also had to learn how to type quickly.
Oh, we had a typing class. I hated it. Like, I think it was just like a practice thing. Like, we only did it on like Wednesdays or something like that. And we only had like maybe like 15 to 30 minutes of like a session.
Yeah.
And we would have to like practice, like, this is where your fingers go. These are where these fingers go. If you want to get to this, ask me if I know how to type. No.
Damn. See, people think I'm a freak because I know how to type.
Yeah, you type hella fast. And it's like, it's too much for me. I'm just like, okay, like, I know the basics, like, but I don't put my hands, like, my pinkies are in these letters, and then my index fingers are going to be on these letters, and then
yeah, see, I have my whole method.
Also, too, like, I'm double jointed in my pinkies. So
all of a sudden she's double jointed.
Look, like,
okay, I believe it.
So, like going like this doesn't work for me because I can't physically like
push it. You can't push it forward.
Yeah, I can't push it forward because
when Jackie tries to type up A, she actually types up the shift key instead.
You're so mean. But yeah, and then but like something random I learned in like 5th grade. I don't know why. Okay, so 2 funny stories. I know this is not even like remotely close to what we were gonna talk about today, but like 2 funny stories. So in 5th grade, we had to learn like all the 50 states and their capitals.
Okay.
And I learned literally all the 50 states and their capitals based off of that ice cream truck song. The or you could go Chang Hang Low, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's go Chang Hang Low. Like that's the one that I'm familiar with. Shout out to Jibs. If you don't know who we're talking about, you way too young for this specific podcast
or this specific part of the podcast. Yeah, but I learned all the 50 states and their capitals to that song or to that jingle. It's like Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of Ohio. There's Montgomery, Alabama, south of Helena, Montana. Then there's Denver, Colorado, under Boise, Idaho. Texas has Austin. Then we go north to Massachusetts, Boston, up New York. Yeah. So
we'll finish it. That's it.
Where did I leave off?
New York.
Oh, New York, Tallahassee, Florida, and Washington, D.C., Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Nashville, Tennessee, Trenton Zoo, New Jersey, North Jefferson, Missouri. You got Richmond, Virginia, South Dakota, has Pierre, Harrisburg in Pennsylvania, August stops in Maine, and here's Providence, Rhode Island, next to Dover, Delaware, Concord, New Hampshire, just a quick jaunt to Montpelier, which is up in Vermont. And then I kind of forget it from there. Like, yeah. But,
so you don't know all 50 states.
Well, like, yeah, I need to remember, like, the next one, and then I can pick up the jingle again.
Okay.
You get me?
You know what I picked up from that?
What?
I didn't realize New York City is not the capital of New York.
Yeah, a lot of people think that.
That's wild.
It's Albany,
that's so
New
wild.
York.
Because you said Albany, and that's why it stuck to me. I was like, Albany, New York? Like, what?
Albany, New York. Yeah. I know. It's weird. Because then, then I forget about, like, certain states that exist. I'm like, oh, yeah. Or, like, New Hampshire. I thought it was, like, part of another state already. I didn't realize it was its own state.
Yeah.
You know, type of thing. I did have a friend who, like, thought Boston was its own state.
I mean, I could kind of see that because when you're a child, you think of Boston just being.
No, she was in high school. We were seniors.
Well, shout out to you. Yeah. Shouts out to the LAUSD. Additionally.
Oh, MUSD.
MUSD. Shouts out to Montebello Unified School District.
Period. And then the second like funny story is that like in 5th grade too, we had to do like the 13 colonies. You know, and then we had to create our own 14th colony.
Is it like New York? It's basically the states on the East Coast at the top right?
Yeah, but like the colony, yeah. So those were the 13 colonies that started like America, I think. I can't remember. But then we had to, for like a group project, we had to create our own colony. And how they would survive, We had to do like a whole group project on it. And I remember we named our our colony Royal Crown. And then
like the alcohol?
Yeah. But we didn't know, or it was Crown Royal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or no, we had said Crown Royal, and then our teacher's like, no. And we're all like, why? And then she's just like, because you guys have to change it. And we didn't know why. We didn't know that there was an alcohol bottle named Crown Royal.
Yeah.
And she was just like, you could flip it. And I'm just like, okay, so it's Royal Crown.
Royal Crown, sure. I mean, that sounds brilliant, actually.
And so then we figured out like, oh, like why? So that we were like searching up stuff on the internet. And then we found out that it was an alcoholic drink. And we're like, oh, that's why she said that we couldn't have it. So,
yeah, that's specifically. Well, shouts out to your teacher for trying to keep it PG and whatnot.
I can't remember her name. Oh, Miss Draymond. Miss Draymond?
Draymond Green?
No. Miss Draymond?
Did she also look like a donkey?
She was from, oh my God, you're fucked up. She was also from Vermont, and every day she talked about, sorry, Miss Draymond, if you're like listening to this, if this ever comes your way somehow.
Draymond.
She always talked about being from Vermont. And literally, like, we would make fun of her, like, all the students, because then, like, outside of class, she always started her stories like, well, back in Vermont.
Oh, my God. Well, then go back to Vermont.
No.
Go
so,
back.
Like, she was really cool. And then she, like, also had, like, these Jolly Ranchers in the cubbies that she didn't realize that we stole. Because she would give them as, like, extra credit, like, treats.
Yeah.
And then we took too many one time, and she's like, who's been taking the Jolly Ranchers? Yeah.
Damn. R.I.P. to those Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah.
Is that why you like Jolly Ranchers?
I don't know. Maybe.
That's probably why. We'll just chalk it up to that. I do have one, since you guys were doing a spelling bee on air on the cruise show, I do have a spelling bee story. So, well, not spelling bee specifically, but more like spelling test, right?
Spelling test.
So I remember this one time. So this is how our spelling tests were kind of formulated, right? So our teacher, he would read all the words, let's say on a Monday, and then he'd be like, we have a test on Wednesday, or maybe even just a pop-up test. So every Monday he would read like, a list of words, whether
like vocabulary words?
Yeah, vocabulary words, whether it be like prolific or something as simple as like shoes, right? I just remember this one time, I wasn't necessarily paying attention on this specific Monday, and they were going through the words. And so by the time it was like the spelling test, you run across this word that looked like horse devours.
Stop.
And so I'm just like, bro, like,
please tell me.
I'm like, horse devours, like I don't even remember him saying this word, horse devours. And so
you're ridiculous.
And so I'm sitting next to like the smartest dude in our class, Matthew Espinoza. Shout out to Matthew
Espinoza.
I was the vice president of the school. He was the president of the school, of the class, right? And so I'm looking at him and he's looking at me. I'm just like, horse devours, bro. He's like, I don't know, man. And so like, I'm spelling it out as soon as the teacher says, as soon as he says like hors d'oeuvres, and I'm like, hors d'oeuvres, like this wasn't even on the like what we read, hors d'oeuvres. So then I put like OURDEVRS, and then he spells it out. I'm like, wait, like we finished the test, and then he's like, you got this wrong, and I'm like, what? That's horse devours. That's not hors d'oeuvres.
Horse devours.
Horse devours.
It's the action of a horse eating.
Exactly. That's what I thought it was. You can't tell me that was hors d'oeuvres. That was like a 5th grade spelling like word. I'm like, bro, how?
Horse devours. So
I got it wrong. I just got it wrong. And I was like, there's no way I could have got that right.
I know that I know that in like 5th grade, we had like those vocabulary words too. And one word that always sticks with me is facetious. And it like, because we had to like know how to spell it. We had to like remember the word.
Yeah.
And we also had to remember like the definition.
So
said in fun, not to be taken seriously. That's literally what I remember on my little index card. Facetious on the back. It said said in fun, not to be taken seriously. And that word has stuck with me since 5th grade. Ask me if I remember any of the vocabulary words from 5th grade. No.
Facetious is probably spelled FACETIOUS.
Yes, facetious.
I feel like I'm facetious. Like every time we do a podcast, I'm the facetious one.
Yeah, you as a thing, as a person, as a personality.
Not to be taken seriously.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. But yeah, that was our trip down memory lane, everybody.
No, I have one more. This is a word that my mom would use between me and my sister every single time. She wanted us to like do something to better our lives. So let's say like she wanted us to do the dishes. Mm-hmm. Let's say she wanted us to take out the trash. Mm-hmm. Let's say she wanted us to like, just take better care of ourselves, right? She would be like, Nicolas, Sabrina, it would behoove you to take out the trash. It would behoove you to wash the dishes. It would behoove you to shower every single day.
Behoove.
No, it's behoove.
Behoove?
It's behoove. I promise you it's behoove. I promise you it's behoove. It's Behoov. I think there's an E at the end.
There is an E. Yeah, it is behoove. Sorry, y'all. I'm clearly not.
And behoove basically means it would be of your benefit. It would benefit you.
It is appropriate or suitable. It befits.
Yes.
It is a duty or responsibility for someone to do something. It is incumbent on. Incumbent.
Yeah. Incumbent, sure. Whatever that means. How are you going to use a word?
I don't think I've ever heard the word like behoove like in person until I met you.
Well, like, until now,
huh? Like until like I started dating you.
Oh, yeah.
And like I would hear it like in like movies, but I never thought that was like an actual word that somebody used.
Oh no, that's an actual word. Just like brouhaha.
Brouhaha.
That is an actual word that I learned also in that same 5th grade class, and I just thought it was so stupid.
Brouhaha.
It's Brouhaha.
Brouhaha. Brouhaha. Brouhaha.
And a brouhaha is basically just like a ruckus, like a loud like commotion.
Okay.
Right?
Right. Brouhaha. Yeah, like this like mess of a freaking like thing that's going on. Okay.
Exactly. Just like the beginning of this podcast, because we don't know where the fuck we're going with this podcast right now.
Wow. Any of these words, none of these words I didn't hear in person until I started dating Nico. And speaking of dating Nico.
Yes, and speaking of dating me, Jackie and I just celebrated our, I was going to say 7-year anniversary, our 3-year anniversary.
It feels like 7 years.
Yeah. But we did a couple things just for ourselves. Like, I believe on Saturday we went out for dinner, and then Sunday we went to a nice
You believe
winery.
or we did?
We did. We did. I'm just using the word believe to kind of add a little bit of sprinkle to my vocabulary, my vernacular, so to speak.
Okay. Saturday we went out to Yamashiro, which is a Japanese restaurant here in like Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
And then Sunday we went to a winery in Malibu that Nico made reservations for.
Cielo Farms.
Cielo.
Well, I was reading cello like Cielo. Like, I was reading it like a cello.
Cello is spelled Cello.
Okay, Cielo Farms then.
Cielo
Farms.
Cielo Farms. He said cello. You can't do that when you're dating a Latina.
Fellas, if you over here in LA, let me just say it's $100 for you and your lady, and you'll probably spend another $200 just being there. Just FYI. But it's a good date.
If you go to Yamashiro, it's really good. Reservations on Resi.
Yeah, but this sounds like a very much more educational podcast than when we think. But like, I think we, aside from me and Jackie like learning a lot about ourselves over the past couple of years, Jackie actually was thanked by Jay Cruz and the Cruz Show for hitting this new goal in our relationship.
Yeah. So I was like, talking to the guys because they clearly know pretty much everything about my life.
Basically.
Yeah. And that they were like, well, Jay Cruz specifically was congratulating us on 3 years. And he said, 3 years in like a relationship is already hard enough as it is in this like dating world that we're in currently in our generation, and just like now, like and he said 3 years in the industry that we're both in is even harder.
Yeah.
I feel like the industry that we both work in, which is like entertainment and radio, and more importantly, like self-employed industry, it's really difficult to find a partner that understands you, that understands your goals, that understands that, you know, there are going to be sacrifices that are going to have to be made in the relationship in order to get to where you want to be.
Yeah. And also too, like, I mean, this day and age is just insane. Like, there's a significantly larger amount of people in this world than there was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There's a lot more access to like dating apps. I mean, there's a lot more access to just seeing different types of people around the world.
Yeah.
There's also access to getting catfished. So that being said, there's a lot of distractions that a lot of people can put on you, or people can end up being your distraction from, you know, having a fulfilling relationship or even just an elongated relationship. Because I feel like 3 years is just like that hump that a lot of people tend to not get to, so to speak, right?
I think 3 years, like I told Nico, this is the longest relationship that I've ever been in. This is the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. And this is the like most fulfilling too that I've been in. Never, you know, prior to meeting Nico did I want kids, which is kind of like shocker for some people. But my parents like knew very like well before Nico that I did not want kids. They knew I didn't really have any feelings towards marriage, and it wasn't until I met Nico that I was just like, okay, this is someone I can see a really long future with, and then eventually it got to like, okay, this is someone I could have kids with, and that for me was like a really, really big step. And putting like yourself out and like to be vulnerable like that in a relationship with people who, you know, essentially like are just strangers until you get to really meet them, until you get into this like this point of a relationship where it's just like, okay, you know, we like to reflect every anniversary on the past year that we've been through. And I think, you know, our second year was very, very like testing of us. And ultimately, like it led us to move in together. It led us to go through some even more difficulties when I did move in, you know. And with complete like transparency, I think, you know, moving in with a partner, it is very sunshine and rainbows, but at the same time, there's dark clouds and lightning because you learn so much more about each other than you ever have.
Yeah, and this is something that I actually explained to Jackie just last night too. So like, you know, you think about when you are living separately from your partner, right? Like what happens is that let's say both of you hang up on the phone, right? And you're sleeping in your bed, your partner's sleeping in their bed, all separately in different locations. Like now you have like a 7 to 8 hour period where you're physically apart, right? What happens when you move in, you add on those 7 or 8 hours because you are physically together. And then not only are you just waking up with them, but then that's an additional hour. That's an additional 2 or 3 hours that you spend with that person. And so naturally from, I don't know, let's just say seeing each other like 5 hours out of the day, and let's just hypothetically say you and your partner live separately and you see each other 5 hours out of the day, you're adding on an additional 19 hours, hypothetically, with that person every single day. So what happens then? The probability of you knowing each other a lot more, whether it be through like arguments or fusses or just conversations, are a lot greater. So what I've come to realize in this experience living with Jackie for the past, I don't know, couple months now is just, am I able to differentiate the difference between, is this something that is just natural because we are spending a significant amount of time together? Or is this something where it's like an innate, like there's something locked deep inside of me and I can't get over it? Yeah. And I've come to realize
like if it's like a true issue in the relationship, or
yes.
just because we're learning to get to learn how to be in each other's space.
Exactly. And I've come to the conclusion that really all of these arguments and whatnot have really just been because we are spending a lot more time with each other and we are getting to know each other. So, you know, I don't know how many people listening to this podcast are
considering living with their partner.
Yeah. But, you know, these are just some of the things to like look out for. I wouldn't say look out for in your head, but basically just be aware of. Be aware if this is like an innate issue that you have to get over, or be aware if this is just something that, well, I'm spending more time with this person, therefore I'm learning more, therefore we have to continually find mutual ground.
Yeah, and I think if like, you know, we're not like pressuring anyone to like move in together with their partner or trying to get people to not live with their partner. I like, you know, whenever we have an argument, I'm the type of person who's like, okay, well, I hope this doesn't make Nico feel like this was a mistake, you know, me moving into his space. But I think if you are going to move in with your partner, you should ask yourself a few questions. Like, are we doing this because this is the next step in our relationship? One. Two, are we doing this and do we want to do this because we want to or because it's convenient?
Yeah.
You know? And three, am I prepared to share my space with another person and also learn about how they live and if it can coincide with how I live? You know, like I would say I'm to a fault like the clean one in our relationship.
Jesus, you make me sound like I got BO, I got shit everywhere.
No, I'm saying like messiness wise, I prior to moving into with Nico, I was very like on it. And Nico was messy because he was like, he lived by himself. He lived a bachelor pad life.
Oh yeah.
And now I moved in and I'm like,
Semen
okay,
everywhere.
This is not what we're gonna do. We're gonna do laundry at least like once a week. We're gonna separate darks and lights, you know. But then I realized that, and I don't think I've told Nico this, but I realized that I started picking up on his behaviors when it came to the apartment. I would leave clothes on the floor. I'd do this, I did that. And eventually I like checked myself too. Like I would tell myself in my head, like, I never did that. I never leave clothes on the floor. I would actually freaking hate if somebody left clothes on the floor. So why am I doing it?
Yeah.
And you tend to like pick up on each other's habits. It all depends on whose habits they're like, which one is going to pick up on the other's habits. Because personally, I don't think that Nico has picked up on much of my habits. I've picked up on more of his.
Oh yeah, that means I'm the influencer.
No, but I think that it's a very like definitely reflecting time. You know, moving in with your partner, or even just like, you know, being with the partner and celebrating a milestone, and just making sure that, you know, you guys are better off than where you were the year before. Honestly,
guys, like, because living as just a bachelor for the past, I don't know, 7 years of my life, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's also a lot of things, especially as a guy, that I learned about myself, especially in the past couple of months, right? Like, I'll admit, guys, we're not the cleanest, right? We're not the cleanest. We leave our clothes everywhere.
Some guys are. I've seen, like, you know, that there are, like...
I'm talking about majority of guys. I'm talking about majority of us. We are not clean. It's difficult for us to put stuff away all the freaking time. Like, women are just naturally more clean and cleanly and want to clean the apartment like every freaking day. That's just a fact.
No, it is. It is.
And so basically what I was saying was that, like, you know, I've had to check myself in situations where, okay, well, now that I'm living with my partner, and she has a certain standard of how the apartment wants to look and how the apartment wants to feel, then, you know, it's up to me also to make sure that I meet her halfway too. Because, you know, as a bachelor, like, you don't really have any other responsibilities other than the ones that you owe to yourself. Like,
right.
You know, I'd probably clean, I don't know, like once or twice a year or something like that, right? Like, if the bathroom was looking kind of messy, it's like, okay, as a bachelor, it's like, okay, well, I could kind of get to that whenever I can get to that, right? Or like, if I know that people were like gonna come over, which people didn't, like, you know, I can kind of leave the apartment the way I want it to look and feel.
Yeah.
But you know, I think also too, because the cleanliness has come in and because there's a lot more organization that comes with the apartment, it's given me the ability to look at everything else and be a lot more organized, like with myself, with my day-to-day things, right? Like, it doesn't feel like there's a stockpile of things that I have to do. It doesn't feel like, well, I have to do all this stuff for work, right? I have to DJ, I have to do this, I have to do that. Oh, but I also have to do laundry. Oh, but I also have to wash the dishes. Oh, but I also have to, you know, clean the restroom.
Yeah.
Oh, I also have to put away some of my clothes. Oh, I also have to like throw away some things that like I haven't gotten the chance to throw out. And so I think that a lot of this, especially when you move in with someone who is on top of cleanliness specifically, I think it adds a lot of like discipline to your life and a lot of direction and organization.
Yeah, I'm still trying to implement a little bit more discipline and organization in Nico's life. I mean, like, the rest of the apartment right now is like pretty, like, it's not like the tidiest, but it's a lot better than what it was before. Don't come into the media room because this is Nico's like sanctuary, and
Man cave.
There is a pile of clothes that's right in front of me in a red chair. So like,
okay, first of all, everyone has that chair, whether you live in a very clean.
There's a desk that has been told to me that it was going to be gone in April, and is still there.
Hold on, whether you're in a clean household or whether you're in a dirty household, everyone has that one chair that sacrifices the fact that it's a chair. It's no longer a chair that holds people. It is a chair that holds clothes.
There is 2 backpacks to my left that I asked Nico about a week ago. Hey, can you please do something with these? Yeah, I can. And still nothing.
And I did. I moved them.
2 inches to the right. 2 inches to the right.
And I did something. That's 2 inches closer to progress is what I'm saying. Damn it.
No, but like, there's just like, you know, you just have to be prepared. And like, I try my best to not lose my cool most of the time when it comes to like cleaning and keeping this place clean. But it's just, it's gonna take time. And I know that Nico knows that I'm not going to wait a year for that to happen.
You make me sound like I'm such a slob. Like,
babe, before I moved in. No,
but currently you make me sound like I'm such a slob.
I'm just like pointing things out in the media room.
Okay.
Just because
okay. But who does laundry on a weekly basis?
You do, and that's like because I've told you that I want to do laundry.
Yeah, no,
why aren't you pointing the camera at me when I talk?
No, go ahead.
Anyway, prior to me moving in, Nico did laundry maybe once a month, maybe once a month and a half.
But who currently does laundry every week and folds it?
Yeah, and I'm not saying
folds
that.
it while he's working.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I never said I didn't.
And guess what?
But
that is by choice, because I've learned that it is a lot more efficient to do it on a weekly basis.
Oh, really? I wonder who taught you that.
I'm just saying.
I wonder who taught you that.
The efficiency is there, and I'm all about efficiency.
This has been 3 years, and Nico and I have been together, and clearly we're still learning a lot more about each other. But something that that was a warning, I guess, to me. Was something called the 7-year itch.
What's the 7-year itch?
So I didn't know about this literally until a couple of days ago.
Okay.
But apparently the 7-year itch is like when it comes to relationships, where it's like where either 7 years is where kind of the love starts to diminish, or you start to question like, well, what are we doing? Are we going to get married? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? What is going on here? Okay. And that apparently the 7-year itch is like real. A lot of people do feel that way. Yeah. And I already have the 7-year itch when it comes to like, what are we doing? Are we going to get married?
Damn, I mean, look at that. Lachero has ants in his pants and Jackie has a 7-year itch. I think both of y'all need to get that checked.
Stop. Anyway, yeah, I think I don't know how to go about it, because like I feel like when it comes to like marriage and kids, I feel like Nico talks about kids a lot more like frequently than I do, but I talk about marriage more frequently than he does. And I don't think the love will like ever diminish with us. I think it can only grow stronger. Can there be like, you know, moments where I am gonna be mad at you even more than I normally am? 100%. Yeah. But the 7-year itch, it's just kind of like that like type of.
Well, I also think like by 7 years you should already have known like where this is going. Like 7 years is almost a decade, so I would feel like if you're in a relationship for 7 years, you would have already known if this person was the one.
Yeah, but
I also think like are you just comfortable in the position that you're in and you never really saw anything like progressing forward? Like it doesn't necessarily, granted, I feel like there are exceptions, like very like maybe 5% worth of exceptions, right? Yeah. But I feel like for the most part, if you're with someone for like 7 years, it's kind of like, well, you know, I think maybe you should have known by now type of thing.
And like I talk a lot about like expectations in a relationship, and I think expectations and boundaries are very, 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 very important in a relationship. When I moved in, I told Nico like, hey, so you know, because Nico had like in this timeline in his head, like by 35, he wants to have a kid. Okay, if that's your timeline in your head, and it could change for you, that's totally fine. It could be like 3 years or it could be 6, it doesn't matter. But for me, I think like setting that expectation in a relationship where, okay, I want to go into this with you knowing that in 5 years, I want to be engaged, or in 5 years, I want to be married. And if you can't provide that to me and are willing to get on that same wavelength as me, then there's no point in us being in a relationship.
Yeah. Again, I think it just goes back to efficiency.
But what do you mean by efficiency? Like,
because like I think
efficiency is like not the right word to use in the relationship.
Efficiency is definitely the right word, because like let's say you're someone who's just like dating, but you're trying to find the one, and you have a certain amount of like expectations and like what you would like in a relationship. And so you can do one of two things. One, you can already have these expectations and ideas in your head about like what you want, and you can either seek that or you could ignore it. And so let's say you find someone who has the potential to be this person, but if you find out that they're not hitting all your qualifications or requirements or what have you, any type of synonym like that, then you have the decision to go on to the next one and seek out somebody who does fulfill all of those specific needs. Yeah. I think what ends up happening is that, Jackie and I were just watching one of the greatest Tyler Perry movies ever, Why Did I Get Married? And they were talking about this thing called the 80-20 rule. Basically, a person, what you are looking for out of a person is 80% of what you actually need in life. What ends up happening is that people end up falling for 20% of like what they want.
Yeah. And they usually tend to find that 20% in somebody else.
Correct. And so what happens is that, let's just say you're somebody who's, just like dating, trying to find the right person or whatever. it directly applies to this efficiency idea that I'm talking about, because you might constantly be hitting that 20% that you're always wanting. But the more you keep on falling into that 20%, the less you fall into that person who actually has 80% of what you need, right? So again, where the efficiency comes into play, are you going to continue looking for that 20%? Or are you going to cut that 20% off so you could fully focus and invest yourself in that person who is going to give you that whole 80% that you're actually needing?
Yeah, and I think that's like just a really big struggle for people who are like dating or in relationships right now. Like, it's like a lot of people I feel are disloyal, you know? And you know, somebody could say like, oh yeah, I'm looking for a relationship and da da da, but they could just be saying that, you know?
Yeah.
Or, you know, somebody gets too comfortable and they want to find that 20% somewhere else. And it just sucks because, you know, I feel like a lot of people, there's like I said, it goes back to like expectations and boundaries. Like, I feel like because people put expectations on things and boundaries on like a relationship too, they think it's a bad thing. And it's not. You're being straight up with what you want.
Yeah.
All we ever want is for someone to be straight up with us. If you want to F around, that's fine. Cool. At least you told me and at least I know. I can make a decision on whether I just want to sleep with you and keep it a friends with benefits thing, or no, that's not what I'm looking for. I appreciate you though telling me.
Yeah.
But that's not for me. I'm gonna go find what I need out of a partner.
Exactly. I mean, I have a friend. I'm not going to shout out his name, and I hope we have him on the podcast very soon. But he's in a very interesting situation where him and his partner have agreed to be together, but also date other people as a couple. And so it's just interesting to me, like the dynamic of it, because it's, at least to me, it's not cheating because they've been able to come into an agreement that like, yes, we are together and we are dating people together. And to Jackie's point, all it comes down to is simply just, what are your standards? What are your expectations for each other? And how can both of you find mutual ground and move forward with that? This actually brings up like something that was also trending on the internet too, like Jonah Hill. Can we talk about Jonah Hill really quick? So Jonah Hill, he but his ex-girlfriend rather posted a screenshot of all of Jonah Hill's like expectations like out of a relationship.
I think they were more boundaries.
Okay, boundaries, yes.
Yeah.
So boundaries, right? So Jonah Hill, he basically does not want the person he's with to post like bikini photos, anything that's like provocative or anything of that sort. And so his now ex-girlfriend is talking about how, oh, well, you know, Jonah basically broke up with me because I didn't
misogynistic.
Yeah.
She was claiming that he was misogynistic and, you know, he just didn't want her to be a woman, this and that.
But at the same time too, like if you want a relationship with Jonah Hill and Jonah Hill is telling you like what his boundaries are and his expectations out of it, you have the opportunity to literally agree and stay or disagree and leave.
But it's not even just the fact that it's like that relationship with Jonah Hill, and girls might disagree with me. I might get berated for this, but that's a boundary.
Yeah.
I'm not, if I told you, I don't like you liking certain photos.
Yeah.
And you stopped it. That was my boundary. I told you when, you know, you were DJing at the clubs, you have to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Nico wasn't aware of what boundaries were until they became issues.
Exactly.
And I feel like in a relationship, you have to have boundaries. A woman, like, you know, us women, we don't want our men going out and flirting with girls. If you do, then that's your thing. Like, that's fine. As long as, you know, some people say like, oh, well, you can flirt, but as long as nothing gets physical, that's the boundary. Okay. Other people are like flirting, physical, anything like that. That's the boundary. Nothing of that sort. So I just don't understand why it's like such an issue when, you know, if Nico were to tell me, hey, I really like this bikini photo that you posted, but like that second picture that you posted, like where your ass is literally zoomed in, like I didn't feel really comfortable about that, you know?
I would not feel, I mean, I would feel 1,000% comfortable, by the way. Let me just make that for the record.
But if like, you know, he were to tell me like, hey, I didn't, you know, really feel comfortable with that, I get it. That is my partner. I'm putting something out on social media that is opening up the door for other people, other men to, you know, possibly reach out, you know, and if he feels a certain type of way, if my partner feels a certain type of way, then I'm not going to do it. And I think the way that Jonah Hill's girlfriend did it, she exposed private messages. That is not the way to go about things.
Exactly.
I understand that there's other things going on with Jonah Hill right now that are far more like
important.
No, that are far more like accusatory. I find accusational. A lot of other like situations that are happening, and I get that, and that I'm not standing for. However, I am standing for him setting a boundary in his relationship. And if she didn't want that, then she could leave, which she did. She didn't have to post private messages. Again, going back to like Keke Palmer and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend has her number. He could have fucking texted her. He could have said, "Hey, I don't like you wearing that type of stuff. First off, girl, you're in Vegas. You go enjoy yourself, okay? Who cares?" He posted on social media to embarrass her.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she's going to an Usher concert. Usher, everyone's like, oh, Usher's trying to break up relationships. He's saying, Usher does not want your girl. I could tell you that right now. Usher is a performer. He is doing something that he knows will get attention, that he knows will be on social media. Usher does not want your girl. Okay?
Coming from the girl who got called baby by Usher, let me just add that, by the way.
Oh my gosh, that's hella funny. That's hella funny. Insert clip here of Usher calling me baby.
No, but, you know, I think to kind of just like wrap that up to like, you know, Jackie has all the points, but shouts out to all the young kings and queens setting their boundaries, and shouts out to the young kings and queens who also understand their person's boundaries.
Yep. Compromise, people.
Yes, compromise.
The biggest word I've ever learned in a relationship.
Yes. But before we end this podcast, I wanna talk about a very fun fact. Jackie, you know, in between all this time and actually on our anniversary date, Jackie and I, we met with an accountant. So shout out to our accountant. I mean, we haven't fully booked him yet, but it seems like he's going to be our accountant. But he left a very interesting message if you reach like a specific threshold in your income, right? So fellas, ladies, they, them, etc. Did you know that if you get married to somebody and in the state of California and you reach a certain threshold, which I believe might be $100,000, you can save up to $15,000 on your taxes?
Now Nico wants to get married.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
We saving 15 grand?
Guys, I'm just telling you right now that in case you see us get married, it's a business transaction to Nico.
If we saving 15 grand right now, guess what? That's 15 grand we could put down on the wedding. That's a down payment for the wedding. That's a little bit of a down payment for a ring. I'm telling you right now.
Down payment for a ring. You have to pay a ring in full, babe. I don't think there's a down payment for a ring.
I mean, I might know a guy who I can put a down payment on a ring. You know what I mean? Like
if you put a down payment on a ring, I'm sorry.
What? That's like, smart. What?
A down payment on a ring?
You can put a down payment on anything nowadays. You can put a down payment on your wedding.
I have a feeling Nico's the type to go on like a layaway for my wedding ring.
Hey man, all I'm saying is y'all want to save 15 grand, make sure you hit 100K and make sure you are married. And fellas or ladies or they, them, etc. Make sure you marry that thing. That's all I'm saying.
That thing. That thing. That thing. I'm a thing now, guys.
My name is Nico Blitz.
I'm Jackie Ramirez.
And this is the Mexipino podcast. We will see you next time, ladies and gents.
Adios.